Hey, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us for another Thursday night live event. I'm here, as always, with Coach Nancy. Hey, Nance, how are you?
Hi, Rick. I'm great.
Nancy.
Really excited to be here again.
Yeah, me too. Tell me, what's new and interesting in your life since we spoke 90 minutes ago?
Well, I have to tell you that the roofers are leaving after a 12-hour day. They gave us a new roof today.
Yeah.
So the banging has stopped, thank goodness.
Yeah, I must say, during our meetings today, I really enjoyed listening to that noise in the background. That was great. Very melodious.
Yes, it was very entertaining.
It kept me paying attention. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. I think we made the point last week. We actually are starting to have some regulars. We're really proud about that. Maybe we'll call some of them out tonight, Nance. Today, we are talking about the Phase 1 box. Oh boy, this is a very important topic, right? I think there's no secrets at HMR. What we help people to do is to pull off rapid, consistent weight loss. That's how people lose so much weight with HMR. So we've won the Best Fast Weight Loss Award, U.S. News and World Report, 5 years running. A little bit shine the shoes there. But a big reason, right, Nancy? I mean, how long have we talked about this through the years? A big reason why people are able to pull off such incredible weight losses and quickly compared to their past experiences is because of the weight loss box, the Phase 1 box. And in Phase 1, that's the box. If you are unfamiliar with that term, that's what we call sticking to the diet, 100%. And if you're in Phase 1 of the program, it's the upfront aggressive weight loss phase. Our focus is on doing whatever we can to help support you to be in the box 100%, because the weight loss that you experience when you do that is absolutely worth it. So anyway, I'm actually seeing on my screen here, Nancy, several people joining us. I don't know if you want to just...
Oh, we've got a lot of people coming.
Yeah, so if we could acknowledge a few people in just a second. I want to just make one more point. Maybe you can chime in here as well. When you're talking about the Phase 1 box, you might think, well, I'm not in Phase 1. How is this relevant to me? Actually, obviously, it's very relevant. If you're in Phase 1, you're in the right place right now. That's the whole focus, being in the box. But if you're in Phase 2, it's also relevant to you because, let's face it, a lot of weight management is pulling off days of weight loss because we all have those days that get out of control. So there are elements to the box. There are effective strategies from Phase 1 when you were working to be in the box that you may very well be practicing or should be practicing more of as part of Phase 2 to offset those high-calorie days and to better manage your weight longer term. So, Nance, who else might this episode be relevant to?
Yeah, I think the other idea, we may have somebody that hasn't started HMR yet and is interested to hear more about it. So if that's the case for you, welcome. And also there may be people here who are considering returning to another stint of Phase 1. So they could be here as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think that before we transition, one of our regulars, if you will, posted a very nice picture. I think we'll start the event with this. What's a social media video, Nancy, without a picture of a pet, a cat, or a dog?
Absolutely.
So Sherry, thank you for sending this in. I hope Sherry's here. I don't know if you had a chance to see if she joined us yet, Nancy.
Sherry is here. She's one of the first ones on.
Yes. Again, Sherry's one of our regulars. You'll know you're a real regular, Sherry, when we say we're not starting until Sherry gets here. But you're not quite there yet. So I like this picture just because the cat is safe. They're in the box, and in some ways it's a metaphor, Nancy, for the box in our program. Yes. It's a safe place to be while also producing magnificent, fast, reinforcing weight loss. So I just thought we'd start with that picture. Really, really good.
It's a perfect. Thanks for posting that, Sherry. It's perfect.
Hey, do we have any other regulars with us here tonight?
Oh, my goodness, we do. We have Shane. We have Lydia. We have Alicia. We have Susan. We have Andrea, who's on frequently. And welcome, Paul. I don't recognize your name, so I'm glad you're on. I think you're new, which is awesome. We have Jennifer back on. Sharon's on. Alicia. Yes, I love this. And we have some of our own staff. We have Aaron on and Sandy. So lots of familiar people.
That's great. That's great. Before we started, Nancy had shared with you that Shane had sent me a quick message. Shane, thanks for that. Shane, you've provided a lot of inspiration for a lot of people out there, well beyond the clinic folks that you interact with. And I was inspired by your text, so I just wanted to give you a quick shout out. Thanks for sending that. He was basically saying these are important, these meetings that we have here. So that's really helped to ground me in this conversation, Nance. Let's talk.
And I have to say, we have Julie coming on saying, "Hey, this is my second time on, so we're gaining more regulars as time goes on."
Yes, yes. You'll get your it's actually a plaque that you hang on the wall when you become a regular.
Right. I've got a number of them.
Yes, that you'll get that in the mail, and then you'll know you're officially a regular. Okay, so keep looking in the mailbox. All right, let's get down to business here, Nancy. We're talking about the Phase 1 box. Such a powerful concept. Some people have said in our program it's our most powerful soundbite, which just supports people to cut through some of the things that have gotten in their way in the past. So I think we should start with sort of ground zero. What does it mean to be in the box? So I'm going to put up Oh, Nance, I'm sorry. I think we want to...
Yeah.
Did you want to follow up on some people through our accountability?
Yeah, I did want to just real quickly. So we're going to keep this shorter tonight, but I want to mention a few people who said that they were taking something on. In case you're here, we had Mary, Sherry, I know you're here, Rosemary, and Shane, I know you're here. You had written down something that you wanted to commit to. So if either of you want to post a response and tell us what you did, please feel free to do that. We also had 3 HMR staff. We had Jen, Kate, and Tiffany, who also had put a goal down. So if any of you want to share something that you accomplished, that's great. And again, if it fell through, that's a learning opportunity, and that may be something to consider redoing this week. So feel free.
Yeah, so it's just what we think is a little bit of a value add to these events where, if you're trying to stay on track, we all know how important accountability is. This is just one more hit, and we've called it the accountability spotlight, where if you think, gee, I'd really like to do X because of that conversation that I listened to on the Facebook Live, well, you could say that to yourself, but you increase your chances of following through if you document it in some way so that the week just doesn't get away from you. But if you really want to take on that sort of gold standard of accountability, vocalize it to all of us and to the community, and Nancy and I will do our best to follow up with you the next week. So,
Rick, let me just say, Shane, who I love this Shane because 1 week he committed to tracking, and he now is at a point where he's tracking every day with the app. Oh. And then last week he wanted to increase water, which he has done as well. So the accountability is definitely working.
Way to partner with us on the accountability, Shane. Yeah. That is so great. Yeah. It's amazing what you can do when you choose to be accountable, Nancy. I've shared before how much I work with you on my health habits. Yes. And you hold me accountable, and I have to say that is the difference. Knowing that I'm going to report to you is the difference, and I think many people who are viewing can relate to that. It's all about being accountable to your coach. Yeah. So, okay.
It's really valuable.
Great. If any other people chime in on what they did or didn't do as part of following from the accountability spotlight, just let me know. Okay, let's get into it then. So we're talking about the Phase 1 box, which has obvious application to those of you who are in Phase 1, but it also has a real practical application if you're in Phase 2 of the program. So we're going to talk about both of these things. Let's first define it, though, Nance. So here's our definition slide, and it's kind of simple, but it does take, sometimes people need certain issues come up and they're not that clear about it, so we're going to talk about those here. So just bottom lining it, being in the box means eating only HMR foods if you are on the decision-free program. If you are on the Healthy Solutions program, it's eating only HMR foods and fruits and vegetables. And this is, again, in Phase 1 of the program. And then in addition to that, you have low and no calorie beverages, whether it be diet soda or whatnot, add-ins to put into your shakes. You don't want to put high calorie things in your shakes to flavor them up. There are a lot of low calorie things, and we have an approved list for those things. And then also low calorie condiments and sauces for your vegetables and your HMR entrees. So I'm not sure if Katie was able to post those yet, but if she hasn't, she will. If you want the lists of ideas for these add-ins and these condiments and sauces, you'll see those in short order on the page. You'll see links to those, and you can just, I would definitely, if you don't have those, they're in your support guide in your initial materials, but if you don't have that at the Quick and Eat Ready, print those, have those available. I personally like to have those available all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're also in the recipe book, so they're in a few different places.
That's right. That's right. All right. So that's the definition. But as you get into the diet, it's not uncommon to come up with a particular food and say, hey, wait a minute, is this food in the box or is it not? And we've heard this many, many times through the years. So what we're going to do is a very quick run through on the top foods that we have all heard, and Nancy and I represent our whole team of coaches because we meet twice a week and more sometimes. And here are the things that people are most unsure about. And we're going to organize this by way of the short list of the foods that people have asked us, is this in the box? When it is, okay, the left side. And then the other longer list, what are the foods that people ask that aren't in the box, though in some ways they may hope that they are. Right, that could be a whole different event. What foods would you like to be in the box, but actually you know in your heart of hearts that they're not?
Right.
All right, so let's go through this quickly. I don't want to belabor it. We've got other things we want to cover here. But just in terms of in the box, obviously, so benefit bars. So what would you say about that, Nancy?
Yeah, I want to say the HMR bars in the box, they don't substitute for a shake or an entree, so we call them more is better. But they're absolutely in the box for phase one. And then the dill pickles, that's a question we get often. They are in the box. They're very low calorie. The only caution is they're high in sodium. Right. So if that's an issue for you, be aware of that.
Yeah, and it can be an issue for anybody. If you're having, if you increase your sodium intake, you might be retaining water, and that can do all sorts of things mentally when you get on the scale. So that's pretty clear, I think. Let's move on to the list of the foods that aren't in the box. Yes.
And I've got one I'm going to add here from a question that we got. By the way, the both of the links to the add-ins and flavors are in here now. But Kathy asks, are nuts like pistachios in the box? And we would say no to that. Actually, nuts are very high in calorie. So they're something that you could eat in small portions in phase two. They're healthy for you, but they're not in the box.
Let me just add to that, Nance. As you look at this list and as we go through this, many of these foods, most of them, that are not in the phase one box because of calorie issues or whatnot, they may slow down your weight loss in some way, shape, or form. Most of them are fantastic food choices for phase two when you're expanding your foods and building skills with other healthy foods, but not phase one. Nuts, I kind of look at that. I will eat nuts because they're part of a healthy diet. The Mediterranean diet always talks about nuts, but they don't talk about a lot of nuts. When you look at the amounts that they're talking about, when you look at the Mediterranean diet, it's almost like a condiment. And that's the way I view it, Nance. It's like a condiment, the nuts. All right, so sweet pickles. What's wrong with those?
Yeah, there's sugar in sweet pickles. So again, the calories are different. There's sugar, added sugar. We don't have fruits and vegetables with added fat and sugar. Maximum
weight loss in phase one. You don't want to add calories that don't help you to be full. So that's not for phase one. Okay, what do these next two have in common? Popcorn, maybe the most common one I hear, actually, and then rice as well. Why do we group these together, Nance?
Yeah, they're both grains. I think people, think they may be vegetables, but they're not. So, again, those are not currently in our Healthy Solutions box.
Dried fruit. What's the issue?
Dried fruit, and that can be confusing because there is dried fruit in our HMR multigrain cereal, but again, phase two, they're actually very high in calorie. They're about 500 calories a cup, so we don't include them in the box.
Yeah, that's a way to slow down your weight loss. I had an interesting conversation recently with a client of mine in phase one, and it was I didn't know how the conversation was going to land, Nancy, because she was enthusiastic about what she was doing with dried fruit, but I had to just share with her the reality of how many calories there were. She was so great. She was so coachable. I let her know that could be absolutely a fantastic part of your work in phase two, but you don't want to do that in phase 1 just because, again, it can slow down your weight loss, and it's all about the weight loss in phase 1. Okay,
right.
next.
And so in phase 1, we're really looking at fruits and vegetables that are naturally occurring, that have all the fluids and the nutrition and the fiber and everything,
Right.
Without the added sugar and fat. Which really, while we're on this whole topic, that's where the V8 juice. That's a juice.
Mm-hmm.
There's no fiber in it. It's not filling. So again, anything that's a juice, we don't count in the box.
Yep. Yeah, you can eat.
Then,
You can
course,
drink a lot of
burger.
calories in juice. A lot
Yeah.
of calories in juice.
Yeah.
Having said that, V8 juice is, you could argue, it's the healthiest juice out there.
Yeah.
So as part of phase 2, in modest amounts, because again, doesn't fill you up, but there's some serious nutrition there, and of course, some people really like the taste. I know I do.
Yeah.
So phase 2, not phase 1. A veggie burger, Nance. I don't want to skip that. Yes or no?
No, and that's again in phase 1. No, it's got vegetables in it, but there's also many other ingredients. So again, it's like a prepared food or a processed food. It's certainly a good option in phase 2, but not in phase 1.
Okay, and I think we could skip alcohol. No one cares about that one, Nancy. So
yeah,
we'll just
no one's going to care.
Move on to
that.
the next one. No, in all seriousness, as much as the calorie points about the V8 juice, alcohol is obviously, many people have routines around alcohol. They're precious. They're favorite routines, and we totally get that. But it will slow down your weight loss, and it's all about not slowing down your weight loss. I will say though. And Nancy, you and I have talked about this before, and we've had so many people that we've worked with in the program who found this to be the case. In some ways, if you've got a favorite alcohol routine, like I like that glass of wine at the end of the night, we get it. We totally get it. But it's almost the conversation about it and the drama that you can infuse into that conversation, which makes it seem like I could never do that. I cannot tell you, Nance, I'm sure you've had this experience. So many people where I've said, just do it for 1 week. Just 1 week. Let's pick diet ginger ale or something else in place of it. And I always hear this, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. And then they experience the weight loss, and then it's like, it was not only not as bad, it was worth it. The whole thing, you put it together, sticking to the box to produce that weight loss.
And the nice thing, as we say, phase 1 is temporary. It's not for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
So if you can think of it that way, that's helpful too.
Absolutely.
Rick, I do want to, there's another question in here, and it's funny because we were thinking about this, so I do want to address this. Susan says, I hear the question about avocado allowed versus olives not allowed a lot. And I do want to clear, we had a major discussion about this, Susan, and we have decided, and we haven't published this at all yet, but that olives, we consider those in the box. Couple things. They're also high in sodium, and they're higher in calories. They're about 160 a cup. So again, it's something I wouldn't recommend getting a serving of olives, a full cup of olives and counting as a serving. I would consider that a condiment. Again, have a few olives as either a snack or as a nice added flavor to a meal you're making.
Yes, and you use that condiment term again.
Yeah,
that's how I view the avocado. Same thing. You put an avocado on a scale and look at it, 45 calories per ounce, an avocado can easily exceed 300 calories. That can slow down your weight loss. But we're not saying don't eat avocado. It's delicious. You can add so much flavor to your meals. I like to do quarter avocados. I look at them as a condiment, and we count a half an avocado as a serving. So there's a little bit of a guidance around those two issues.
All right. Mary, sauerkraut is in the box because, again, it's a pickled thing. There's not a lot of it's like in a brine. So yes, yes to sauerkraut.
Yeah. So Nance, I trust you're looking at the people who are commenting. I'm not able to see that here, so you represent. You just interrupt as we go, but I'm going to move on to the next conversation about the box. Unless you want to do something different.
No, I think we should move on. If there's other questions, we can respond to them after the live event.
Great. So we've just talked about the what's in the box, what's not, the most common questions that people ask. There's another sort of category of questions that people get confused about. And it's really, we have not a lot of concepts in the HMR program but we have a few different concepts that all sort of act as shortcuts to help you be more successful, whether it's with weight loss or weight management. So in phase one, several of these three of these concepts sometimes get connected to the box, and it adds confusion that doesn't need to be there. These concepts are separate from the box. So the first one, by far, Nance, this is by far the biggest point of confusion.
Biggest confusion.
Yeah, every diet in phase one, whether you're on the decision-free program or on the healthy solutions program, you have.
Have you changed your slide, Rick?
No, thank you. Great. Has diet minimums. Thanks for that. You're on 3 shakes and 2 entrees as your diet minimums. You might be on 3 shakes, 2 entrees, and 5 servings of fruits and vegetables and healthy solutions. Those are your diet minimums. They are independent of the box in terms of the definition of was I in the box or not. So Nance, give me an example. How might someone get confused by this?
Yeah, so an example might be, all right, so I missed one of my shakes today. So I had 2 shakes.
Right.
They missed the minimums. They missed a shake or an entree or fruit or vegetable. So that means I wasn't in the box, right? And the answer is they're independent. Yes. So if everything you ate that day were HMR foods, and if you're on healthy solutions and fruits and vegetables and the condiments and acceptable flavorings, then yes, you were in the box. It doesn't matter whether you met the minimums or not. Obviously, we encourage you to meet the minimums, but they're 2 separate entities.
That's right. Even if you missed a shake or an entree or a fruit or a vegetable, you missed your minimums. If you didn't eat all of those foods outside the box, the chips, the pretzels, the cookies, the crackers, all of that, you're in the box, even though you might have missed your minimums. So we hope that that's clear. It does take a little bit of thinking just to sort of disengage those, because the minimums, meeting the minimums, is really a stepping stone to eventually being in the box. So it's very understandable that people would think that they're connected definitionally, but they're not. They're not. You can miss the minimums, but still stay in the box, eating only HMR foods and fruits and vegetables if you're on healthy solutions. All right, let's look at the next one.
I think we can just I think this point is the same all the way through. So if you do more is better, which we totally encourage to support you to stay full and in the box, that's fine. Again, it's independent of whether or not you were in the box. And the same with physical activity. No matter how little or how much physical activity you do in the day, it does not tie to whether or not you were in the box. Again, a different concept.
Right, absolutely. So separate them. The box is clear. It's only HMR foods, decision-free, or HMR foods with fruits and vegetables if you are in the healthy solutions, and the approved no-calorie beverages and low or no-calorie condiments, sauces, or add-ins for your shakes. That's it. That's what it means to be in the box. Okay, so we've defined the box. The conversation here is relevant to both phases. That's going to become more clear right now as we move into this. Let's now talk about really the big question of the time here. Why, Nancy, is being in the box so effective for losing weight? Why? There are lots of reasons, guys, and we would ask you listening.
Right. For those of you who are in the box or have been in the box, please add your own comments.
Why did it work for you? That's pretty much the question. Why does being in the box work better than other approaches you've tried for weight loss? So we came up with 2 sort of broad reasons. From these reasons, there are lots of other reasons, but they all kind of tie back to these 2 reasons. So I'm hoping that some of you who are watching could answer that question from yourself, your own experience personally. Why was this concept of being in the box and focusing on being in the box helpful for you to lose weight? How much weight did you lose from that? Was that better than times in the past? All right, let's go through these. The first one, it's simple and clear. The box. It's not negotiable. There's what's in the box, and then there's what's out of the box. And hopefully this conversation has helped to further clarify that.
Right.
I will say, Nancy, you know this, when we ask our groups of people who are in the program in weight loss, what is it about this program that's different and better than other programs you've done in the past when you've tried to lose weight? I would say this is the number one response. This program is simpler. This program is clearer. I know what I need to do. Not to besmirch any other programs out there, but that tends to be what we hear. So I'm not sure, are people responding at all, Nance, to that question?
Yes, I would love to just read some of these.
Right.
So, Shane, phase 1 gives you a clear-cut path to healthy weight loss. Healthy weight loss. I love that you said that too.
They need to.
Putting distance between yourself and old habits is so important. Again, the distance. Know your why. I've got, I just want to say, Alicia, I stayed in phase 1 until I got to my goal weight, so she got to her goal weight that way. Susan, magic? Question mark. I just know it worked. I lost 75 pounds being in the box.
Some arcane
Marla,
magic. Yeah, go ahead.
There are fewer choices.
Well, that's perfect. That leads right into this one, which is related to the first one, but it's different at the same time. It's highly structured, and Marla just hit on it, Nance, right? You have fewer choices. The choices are clear, and there's lots of variety within the box, but you don't have such an overwhelming number of choices and decisions that you start to experience that anxiety and that stress that comes along with having too many food decisions. Everyone listening knows of what I speak. We all experience this. There's so many choices out there, and most of them are not successful. And we all know how easy it is when you're faced with all those choices to negotiate with yourself. I mean, without the box, Nancy, I think anybody can manage to rationalize any food choice given the circumstance. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Oh,
totally.
It's just so easy to do it. You know, the classic example is, I'll just have one cookie, and one becomes two, and then two becomes the sleeve, and then you're off to the races. I mean, we all know what it's like. When you really buy into the box, it helps to just wipe out that whole rationalizing thing that can just bring you so far off track with why you joined the program in the first place. All right. So
let me just say a couple things, and then I know we want to get to the how part before we leave here, but Jen says, when I was in phase 1, my first weekend, I had 2 birthday parties and a graduation party. So in order to stay in the box, I kept going for things that were in the box. I think I ended up with 5 shakes, 3 entrees, and 10 servings of veggies. I thought for sure I would gain weight, but I still lost more than I thought I even expected. And Lydia, I loved phase 1 because I didn't have to overthink what I was going to eat. And I had lots of yes foods to eat, which is another great point. There's a lot of variety in here. Yeah. A lot.
Yeah. To that point, some people, it's hard to realize and even appreciate how much mental energy we expend when we're considering other foods, all that decision anxiety. When you buy into the box, it's all that mental energy is not being expended. You know, you're not feeling diet fatigue by the end of the first day on the plan because it's just real clear and you're not doing that whole negotiating thing. Nance, I wanted to just sort of as an exclamation point, since the box is all about providing a safe and successful way to lose a lot of weight quickly and to be motivated. How important is that, being motivated? I just want to share one quick example that speaks to what's possible when you really commit to being in the box. So this is really an example, and then we'll move on to the how-tos. For those of you who are in phase 1, wherever you are with your work on being in the box, really look at this example and apply it to yourself. Is there a next step for you to take? Is there another level of committing to pausing all old behaviors and going for being in the box 7 out of 7 days, being in the box 100%? So let's go through this example. It's a real simple one. How long does it take to lose 30 pounds? So we pick 30, but you might want to lose 50 or 80. It doesn't matter. Just take the gist of the example here. If you're losing 2 pounds per week, just to pick a pretty good, solid, rapid pace of weight loss, it's going to take you 15 weeks to lose the 30 pounds. That's actually rapid weight loss, believe it or not. You may want to lose more than 2 pounds, but if you're doing that every single week, the overall weight loss is adding up quickly. But it's not uncommon, right, Nance, to take a couple steps forward, a couple steps back, to maybe be out of the box, to not lose as much weight in a week. Oh, next week will be better. And to be averaging a half a pound of weight loss per week. To lose that same weight, 30 pounds, it takes 60 weeks. And without the motivation of watching that weight loss add up and build week after week. So we feel like this is such a powerful example. 60 weeks is a long time. So,
well, it's over a year. You wonder how many people would last that long.
I mean, just boil it down. How many more Friday nights is that staying in the box? How many more weekends and holidays and birthdays and whatnot? So why do we push for fast weight loss, rapid, healthy weight loss, as Shane reminded us here? Because it gets you there. If you're on this over, you're not as likely by a large margin to get to where you want to go if you're taking the long route to get there. I don't know if there's anything else to say on that example, Nance, but it's really, that's why we focus on being in the box right there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I just want to welcome Luann, who's brand new. She's on day 3.
Ooh.
Loving the foods, and thanks for the explanation about being in the box. So
Excellent.
Thrilled you're on. That's really great.
Excellent.
And I'm, a couple of people are saying, phase 1 was fabulous. Now I'm on phase 2, and I'm struggling a bit. And I just want to acknowledge that phase 2 is more challenging because again, you don't have that tight box as phase 1. But hang in there. Continuing, like if you have a coach, stay with it. It's a learning process. It's an absolute learning process. And you can use tonight, it's what you're saying is, there are times to go back and use phase 1 box, either for a day or two or parts of a day to help you keep calories lower and manage your calories. So this is really apropos for you as well, isn't it, Rick?
Yeah, I have to sort of repeat what you just said there. So if you're finding phase 2, and by definition, you're not in the phase 1 box anymore. You're adding more and different healthy foods. These are new behaviors. It doesn't just happen. You don't just develop new habits because you said so.
Right.
You have to practice them. So you want to focus on, keep up the box behaviors, which is kind of the focus of this conversation. And that puts you in a different position to more gradually explore the lean proteins and the grains and whatnot in phase 2.
Exactly.
But our focus here is on the fact that I would suspect that there are many people in phase 2, if you're finding it hard, do you need to be bringing back in some of the phase 1 box behaviors just for all the reasons we just said? Because it's simple, because it's clear, because it adds more structure and has you less likely to be negotiating with yourself. So let's get into that question you just asked, Nancy, which is, and we're going to now ask this of everybody, and really would ask everyone watching. Remember, most people who watch this video are watching it after the fact. So your pearls of wisdom here will live on, and we're asking you to come up with at least one strategy that you feel really supported you when you were in phase 1, if you're in phase 2 now, to be in the box. Or if you're in phase 1 now, what's something that really is supporting you? And it could relate to any of these categories. It could be doing much more concerted planning around your food choices than you've ever done in the past. It could be a timing strategy, getting a certain number of in-the-box foods in before noon, for example. It could be the old more is better. It could be environmental control, bringing things into your environment so you have more foods you can say yes to, or subtractive environmental control. While you're in phase 1, saying, I'm getting those foods out of my environment so that I don't have to be negotiating with myself about whether or not I should eat it. There's always the variety of the recipes that people ride to support themselves being in the box. And then, Nancy, you brought this up, adding physical activity to this list, and it made perfect sense to me.
Right.
Oh, tell me why.
Yeah, well, the physical activity, obviously it burns calories. We know that. But in phase 1, even more important, I think, is it gives you the motivation to also make healthy food choices.
Right.
There's something about the combination, while you do the PA, that healthy behavior leads to other healthy behaviors and healthy eating.
Yep. You go for a 10-minute walk and come back, you are more committed than your identical twin who sat there facing the temptations and tempting foods, who didn't go for the walk.
In fact, that's a good point, Rick. It can help you manage cravings,
Absolutely.
right? And urges. Like it's one of the big things that you can do is just get out and move for 10 minutes, and that often will take that urge, that desire, and bring it down so you can manage it rather than give into it.
And
so
sometimes it makes them go away.
Good for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the question we're asking of you who are watching, take a minute and think about
getting
this.
A lot of things. Yeah.
Okay. We want to hear those. And what I would say is we want to get a list, but there's another game you're playing here if you're watching this. Yeah. You're trying to better your game. So what, on top of what you're currently doing to support you to be in the box, is there at least one thing that you see from these other ideas that we're going to review now that you should consider adding to your arsenal? The more things you try, the more things you eventually adopt as part of your new routines, and it just creates a stronger foundation for being in the box. So share, but also consider stealing something, borrowing a strategy from someone else. Bring it into your week this week, and we'll give the people the opportunity to take a gun on the accountability spotlight at the end if people are so inclined. All right, so what are we seeing here, Nancy?
Well, we're seeing things, one is tracking, and I think that's very important. When you're recording what you're doing, that's reinforcing and helps you kind of manage your time. We're talking about Shane, who's, again, in phase 2, managing a big weight loss, still does about 60% of phase 1, he said, because it just helps him manage everything, his health goals and his weight goals by doing that.
So Nancy, Nancy, hold on. I'm not sure we hit on this hard enough earlier.
Okay.
What does that mean? It might mean I'm going to take a portion of my day and say I'm in the box during that day. It's like my brother Bill, who's a health coach with HMR, been with HMR 30 years, just like me. Nancy, you're his coach too.
Right.
His famous line is, I'm just in the box during the day before dinner. He's in the box all day long, and he's banking all of these calorie savings that gives him more room in phase 2. So is it part of the day, or is it a full day in the box as maybe a planning strategy if you're in phase 2? And I think I'm just embellishing what Shane was saying, being in the box a lot of the time. Keep going, Nancy.
Yeah, I do the same thing. It's just no decisions. It's easier. Susan's really promoting the whole more is better. When she lost a lot of weight in phase 1, she says, I was never too hungry, and I've been able to stick with it for a year. So, that more is better is so key.
My number one strategy, thank you, Susan, that's my number one. I'm not going to pull off a day in the box. I start with, I'm going to blow out the numbers here. The 3 plus 2 plus 5.
You and I kind of joke about that. I can't do a day in the box on the minimums.
Not even.
Sharon, again, lost a lot of weight. Tracking my food helped me. So, again, tracking. Lydia, let me see. Oh, environmental control. I'd love to hear more about that. I mean, that is absolutely key. Having things there that you can eat and having the tempting foods so you're not struggling with them.
Yeah, say a little more, Lydia, about that. If you could do a follow-up comment.
Like if you want to add things.
I'd like to know what you mean.
She mentioned planning and physical activity, so she was agreeing with everything we had on there. We have somebody on the treadmill right now getting their physical activity in. That's great.
Hey, there's my Sherry.
Sherry's.
Oh, go ahead, Nancy.
Sorry.
I'll after you acknowledge Sherry, I want to acknowledge someone. Go ahead.
Yeah, and again, a combination of more is better in environmental control.
Yeah, great.
So,
I just want to call out Sharon. You said you'd be here again. You are becoming a regular. I love it. Absolutely great.
Yeah,
and Sharon
she's a regular.
She also reinforced the record keeping that you mentioned to help. And Sharon, you have done a tremendous job staying in the box. Boy, you just did a fantastic job in the program. All right.
I see.
So, Nancy, what about you? Is there anything we haven't touched on as it relates to planning, timing, more is better, environmental control, recipes?
Well, I think timing, Rick, is important as well. I think, again, I would almost make it decisionless and to make sure you eat something every 2 or 3 hours. What I've seen happen so many times to people say, well, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not really hungry, so you know what? I'm going to wait. I'm not going to have a shake right now. And then by 4 o'clock, they've eaten out of the box because they got hungry and didn't have time. So I think, staying ahead of the hunger is really, really important. In fact, Sharon just is reinforcing what I just said. She goes, planning my day and eating regularly every 2 hours so that I don't get hungry. So Sharon, you and I, we're in each other's back pocket right there.
That's great. That's great. Nancy, Miracle of Miracles, I'm seeing the posts finally on my old iPad Mini.
All right.
So I want to comment about Marla. I'm doing more is better, but I'm at a standstill. So just a question, Marla. I've heard that 1,000 times in the past, and I can't tell you how often people will say, well, I'm meeting the minimums, I'm doing more is better, but I'm not losing the weight that I'd like to lose. And then I look, and they're not in the box. So that's the question. Are you in the box? Because if you're not in the box, then there's something else to do around applying some of the strategies we've talked about here, getting some more support to help you be in the box. Because even a little bit of eating out of the box, it's extraordinary how much you can slow down your weight loss. You can think that I'm just doing nibbles and bites and little licks and tastes, and it will slow down your weight loss. It's extraordinary. If you are in the box, that's another conversation. So we could follow up by way of by way of the comments here. But maybe there's a different series of steps to take. So that's just something I would just remind you. If people will say that, gee, I'm doing the program and I'm not losing the weight, and then I look and they're not in the box. The quickest way to increase your weight loss is to do whatever it takes to be in the box, because now you're eating foods that have so many fewer calories than all the other foods. Even if you don't think you're eating many of them, it doesn't take many of them to slow down your weight loss. Any other?
The other thing, Rick, I'll just add is, there are, especially flavorings, milk, things that you could be adding even to your meals and your shakes that are adding calories that you're just not realizing, right? People stop measuring, or, you could be adding, again, you could have a cup of coffee that ends up being 50 calories. And, you have a few of those a day, or, so, there's things like that just to be, there was a woman I talked to the other day who had started using a lot of olive oil, things like that. So just, that's another thing to be aware of.
I had a gentleman whose weight loss had slowed down much more than it should have, and he was doing 500 calorie shakes. Technically, he was in the box. Technically. But he was doing so much PB2 powder. He was putting three fruits in his shakes, and he was doing 500 calorie shakes. It filled up the blender, but we talked about ways we cut 300 calories out of his shakes, and he was still filling up the blender, and his weight loss started to accelerate again. That's just one of so many examples of when you just be a little bit more precise about the program, how you can accelerate your weight loss. So Marla, I hope that we only tip of the iceberg, and there's a next step for you. We're not sure what it is. You're kind of, are you in the box? If not in the box, that's the takeaway from the conversation tonight. All right. Nancy, do you have any other strategies that anyone has shared that you want to?
Well, I just want to share Lydia talking about her environmental control. There's a great story here. She said she was in charge of an 80th birthday party for a friend. She had the leftover cake in the car, the best part of it. So to control the environment, she called her coworker and offered the cake for the break room. The coworker was delighted, and I kept the cake from getting inside my house and me. So giving it away.
Win-win.
Smart move.
Win-win. Fantastic.
Win-win.
Wow, that's great. Really great. All right, so a lot of different ideas here. And now this is where the proverbial rubber meets the road for a select few people. But I want to throw up the old accountability spotlight. Again,
here we go.
Just to paraphrase it, you can say you're going to do something. If this whole conversation had you saying, gee, you know what, I should do that, which I'm not doing. That's fine. Better than not saying it. But there's an easy out on that. Write it down. Document it somehow. Now you're more likely to do it because of our busy world. But are you willing to go to the next point and say, I'm going to sort of commit to this publicly? I know, Nance, I can't say enough about how much the accountability drives me in following through on the plans that I make with you. It's
It's a whole different level.
Someone said magic earlier about the box. To me, the closest thing to magic in terms of the difference between not doing something I said I was going to do and doing it, it's accountability. So, with that, let's throw it out there. You don't all have to do it, but if you're willing to sort of get to the big boy table here and...
well, we got the regulars already chiming in, Shane and Sherry, both making a commitment, so fantastic. I love it.
Great. So we're hearing a few. Love it. I don't think we need to review them because we'll review them next week as part of when we start. So we'll give it another, let's say, 15 seconds or so.
Yeah.
If you want
go ahead and keep posting.
If you want to take on the additional accountability spotlight, which has you more likely to follow through on what you say you're going to do, then do it. Post it. Let us know. Nancy and I will make sure that we follow up next week and give you an opportunity to report on it, whether you did it, which would be great, and if you didn't do it, as we keep saying. There's something to learn there. No judgments.
Yes,
no judgments
absolutely.
At all. Okay, very good.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up here, Nance. Have you join me on this? Obviously, we've been focusing on the Phase 1 box tonight because today's food environment is, newsflash, out of control. It's the least supportive food environment that has ever in history for losing weight or for managing weight. That's the world that we live in. There is no structure. There are foods everywhere. The temptation's coming at you all the time. So we need structure. The world isn't giving us structure. It's giving us no structure. So we need structure. So for a period of time in Phase 1, to help you lose that weight, we ask you to be in the box and to join us, partner with us to be in the box all the way. It's easier that way. If you want to lose 30 pounds, 60 pounds, 100 pounds, or 200 pounds, being in the box is the easier way to do it. I'd love someone to comment on that who speaks from experience there. So what's the next step for you? If you're in Phase 1 of the program, are you playing around with the box? Or is there a next step for you to commit to being in the box? You'll only lose more weight and only feel like this is a better program that you joined if you do that. If you're in Phase 2 of the program, and we already heard this, right, Nance, tonight?
Yes.
Phase 2 is harder. More choices. What is it that you can steal from Phase 1 and the box in particular? Should you be doing more parts of your day, like Shane said, where you're in the box? Like I do, like Nancy does, like Coach Bill, my brother, does. Should you?
Kate's gonna do in the box after dinner, which is a very challenging time for me.
That's so interesting. There's so much dessert type things you can do in the box that in Phase 2 you stop doing. I love it. I tell you, that's a whole
perfect
conversation. Great, Kate. I love that. I love that. So, what's your takeaway here? Only you can decide that. We hope that this conversation was helpful. Nancy, what else do you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, once again, Rick and I really look forward to doing these every week. Really and, it's fun to see so many people coming back. So we know that you're appreciating them. And Shane, that was such a lovely text you sent, Rick. And we just hope you all have a great week. We hope you come back, tell your friends as we get more and more people on. And for those of you who are watching this after the fact, again, we hope this has been helpful to you. And please comment. Yes. Again, and let us know if there's a topic that you really would love us to discuss. Tell us, and we'll take it into account. Absolutely,
we will absolutely. We need your feedback. How was tonight?
Yeah.
How are these going? What else do you want to hear? This is our group. This isn't just Nancy and me. This is our group. So, if you're a regular, thank you. If you're not a regular yet, consider being one, or when you become one, your plaque, again, will be in the mail. You can hang it proudly above the mantle. Thanks for being with us. We know that there's a lot of things competing for your time. Have a great week. Have a strong week.
And Rick, let me just say one thing. I feel like we got our job done at one point. Here's Paul. He gets the kit tomorrow. He's starting Sunday, and he's committing to be in the box.
Oh, my God. That's it.
We did our job.
I go to sleep
Great job, Paul.
Feeling like I've done the right thing in my life. Yeah. That's fantastic. Absolutely. Paul, thanks for sharing that. That goes further than you think for us when you share something like that. Thank you so much. And guys, see you next Thursday. I hope.
Yes.
All right.
Have a good week, everybody.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.